Alright, what's going on guys? Dan Numbers back again with another Minecraft Let's Play. Today we're going to be recapping my most recent track races. I actually ran 4 meets this summer. I figure we'll do 2 parts, so we'll do the first part, that'll be this video where we discuss the meet that I ran on July 16th and July 23rd. This is 2025. The date today is August 27th, so it did take me a little bit to make these videos, about a month. But anyway, and then the second part will be recapping the meets that I ran after that on July 25th and July 30th. So we do have about 2 weeks from the first meet to the last meet, and either way I'm just going to be going over the results. I'm going to be putting some videos on the screen here so you guys can watch. Anyway, let's just get right into it. If you haven't watched my videos before, what's going on guys? I'm Dan. Alright. Look, we're about to get real for a sec. A lot of, I don't even know how to say this, man. I really debated deleting a lot of the videos on this channel because I go very in-depth on the inner workings of track and field. That has nothing to do with the athletes or working out or anything like that. It has to do with the event organizers, just all of the corruption that goes on behind the scenes. And the reason I have to say this now and get this out of the way is because I was about to go into my track career, like when I started and everything running in high school, but sadly, I know for a fact that a lot of track is just kind of bullshit. A lot of the times are fluffed so that they can make athletes look better. And the best example I have of that is my records have basically been deleted from my school. There's even I'm not gonna put this on the screen just because I'm not gonna expose people's like last names and whatnot. But I have a really good example of a race that I ran. I actually have the results from that meet, and I had beaten somebody from my grade, like somebody I went to school with. I beat them in that race, I believe in that heat. But either way, my time was faster than them, even if it was just by milliseconds. And they actually, there's like a record list, and they put this individual, they put his time as faster than mine, although I had ran faster than him. But this individual was also taking school a lot more serious, as in like trying to get good grades and whatnot. So it's likely that they moved his name. Remember, everything I say in these videos is just my opinion, but it's likely that they moved his name on the list to make him look better than me so that he could get a better scholarship. And sadly, you have to keep that in mind when you're talking about or discussing track and field, especially when we're going to go into in depth on times and whatnot, because when we're talking about seconds to milliseconds of differences in times, you can't just contribute that to an athlete's performance. And it's really upsetting because we go out there, we train, we work really hard to do our best, and then we have this really, really bad way of deciding the results. They literally decide the results. That's why I have to word it like that. It's really upsetting. So anyway, let's just get right back into what I was saying. And just to elaborate a little bit further on that real quick, so this individual, we ran at the same meet, the same race, and I beat them, but their result is listed as 776 for the 55, and this was either in 9th or 10th grade, and my result is listed as 779.03 seconds slower, although I had beat them. They listed me below them on the records, as well as they got rid of all my records from the year prior, which is just really funny. Anyway, so now that we got that bullshit out of the way, I started running track, I believe in 2013 in middle school, but I can only find my results from 2014 and forward. So I did run a 100 in 12.59 back in the day, back in high school. That's my PR, as well as a 200 meter. Now, they don't have my PR on here, but I ran a 27.87. That's the only result I can find. I definitely didn't run anywhere faster than 25. I might have run like a high 26 at some point, but that's the fastest I ever ran in high school. As well as a 300-meter time of 43, but that is also not my PR. It's just listed here. I believe I ran around a 41 or a 42. Not that big of a difference, but sadly the result listed here is just not correct, sadly. And then, yeah, as I was saying, the 55. They did have me listed there as like a 769 or whatever, but you know. after that whole explanation, you could tell that obviously none of these times can really be taken seriously. I mean, it's just whether it's FAT or hand time, because a lot of these times are FAT. It's sad that it's very sad they manipulate these results. All right, so either way, the only reason I'm even mentioning these numbers is so that we can get a roundabout estimate of what I should be running now, or the goal of what I'm trying to run now, considering I'm trying to get faster than I was then. But either way, I'll put these numbers up on the screen so you don't have to just go off my words here. But I do have like I'm literally just looking at like one of the track results websites that's got like my results compiled from all of the seasons. So I'm just going off of some of the numbers here. I'm not looking at like every single result. Either way, all right. Now we got that out of the way. 100 meters, 12.5, 12.59 if you want to be specific. 200 meters, 27.8. 300 meters, 43.5. All right? These are the numbers that we're working with back in high school. It's 2025 now. We're talking about numbers that happened 10 years ago. Either way, let's get back to the point of this video, man. So, the first meet that I ran this season was the USA Track and Field Long Island Summer Series, and this was a open masters meet. So, you know, either you came there with your school and like your school signed you up, or like me, you could just go there, sign up yourself, any age basically, as long as I think you have to be over like 14 to sign up in the open. Don't quote me on that though. You might even just be able to sign up when you're younger if like your parents sign you up. Either way, look, we're gonna throw the races on screen here. I did run prior to this. The last meet I ran was in February, so we're talking about 5 months difference in you know, a 5 month gap in running. So I can't say. Also, I have to mention that that race in February was an indoor race. So this was the first time I'm running outdoor in over a year, basically. Either way, you know, I'm gonna do less talking and just we'll throw the video on screen and then we'll discuss it.
There's one July one. No, I don't keep track. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, 22. Oh, look, it says.
Well, I just rewatched that video back myself. It's very disappointing. It's a disaster. But I did write down a couple notes after that race. If you're getting back into track and field, this is definitely something I recommend, especially because when you're racing in high school, I've mentioned this before, if you're racing in high school or college, you have a lot of meets back to back. You're racing very often. So you might get nervous at first, but then eventually it's just something you're doing like every week and you just get into the groove of it. You don't really get as nervous and you get more excited. The problem is when you're not running very many track meets at all, when you've got maybe four a season, I ran four this season, but that's just I'm just saying that because I ran four this season. Sometimes you only get one or two. Sometimes you get one or two races the entire year. So that will make you extremely nervous because you're training all year and, if you mess up here, then it was all for nothing. So yeah, so I do like to jot down some notes after a race, and this can be really useful for before you run a race. You just read these, remind yourself of the feelings that you're going to have during the race. So I only mention that too because after this race, one of the notes that I jotted down was I probably should have just pulled out. Like I should have just like faked an injury and like stopped running in that heat. And like at the time, that's what I felt. And rewatching the video, part of me does feel that way. But also, we are about to watch well, I guess we have to watch the 200 meter first, but we're going to watch the next meet after this, my 100 meter and my 200 meter, and I don't think I would have been able to improve in my next race if I did pull out of this race. So, although I did jot down in my notes that I should have just pulled out, that definitely wouldn't have been beneficial towards my training or towards progressing. It would have just been a way of quitting and not feeling so bad about the loss. But whatever. Um, Either way, yeah, that race didn't go well at all. The first step of the race, like right off the gun, I actually do have a good start, and I think that definitely gave me some confidence and reassurance in my next race because the only thing I was nervous about in this race was my start. I know that once I'm running, I can speed up basically anytime I want. A lot of people, you know, especially if you're being taught how to sprint, you're going to be taught like you accelerate from the beginning and then the rest of the race you're basically just slowing down. I'm in really good shape. I can get in extremely good shape when I'm running a lot. So accelerating later in the race for me isn't that difficult. Now, that might also mean that I'm not going hard enough in the beginning. But if you do break down Noah Lyles' fastest 200-meter races and, you know, other like speed endurance athletes, they do tend to go faster towards the end of the race. There's like certain portions of the end of the race that they're still accelerating or they maybe accelerate again. Now, don't quote me on this. I saw this in like a YouTube breakdown. I'm not even sure if this is exactly correct, but either way, I do think running like this can be beneficial in longer races. Definitely not like the 60 meter and the 100, but races like the 200. Either way. So that start definitely gave me some confidence, but I also wrote down in my notes that I could just feel myself running incorrectly, which was definitely true. Like 2 steps into this race, I just like stop my drive phase, and like every part of my race is just wrong after that. So, either way, we'll watch this again. We're probably playing this back right now in like slow motion, so we could like see each movement of the race. But about like halfway through, I already knew I was screwed. I was so far out of the race at that point that there really wasn't much I could do. But I knew that I just had to finish it out and try to run as fast as possible. So I did kind of like knuckle down and try to just, you know, close off the gap as much as I could, but it wasn't successful. All right. So now we're gonna get into the 200 meters. We're not gonna take as much time. I do think that we can speed up this process a little bit.
Come on, Land! Come on, Landon!
How's the girl beating a boy? That's not good! That's a legend. Go, 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 go!
Again, the 200 meters, my start was really good, and it wasn't as much as my form fell apart after that, as much as I just didn't go hard enough. Like, I should have locked in and just really tried to catch everybody else before the 100-meter mark of the 200, but I didn't. I actually just didn't. I went, like, nice and conservative. I tried to just, like, put out a strong effort to see, like, where I would be at, and, I did end up running. I ran a 27 like 9.9, so like just under 28 seconds, which that's not good at all. Detrimental. So it was not good. It was bad 200 meters. Let's get this off the screen, man. We can't watch this anymore. Oh, that was my first track meet of summer 2025, and if that was the only meet that I ran this season, I probably wouldn't even be making this video, but luckily there are 3 more meets, and we're gonna get right into the next one, and then like I said, next video we'll cover the next 2, but all right, let's just hold up. Give me a minute.
Sleeping like a soldier trapped inside of an island. Machines that keep you breathing, all that happens when you find a new world's begun. Flip a switch and turn it off, you won't be able to breathe.
So I'm going to throw the results on the screen here. I ended up finishing in a time of 13.45 seconds, which is 0.31 seconds faster than my last race. It definitely felt good to run faster and not slower in this race. Like, it's just, I definitely had a fear that I was just not ready to run the 100. Maybe not even the 200. I really did not train much this season. I trained a lot more for the indoor season, and I was just really busy this summer. That's all it really was. It wasn't that, like, you know, I didn't want to, or that I, like, couldn't because of injury, but I just really, I didn't train much, so I was definitely surprised to see the improvement, I guess, too. But either way, good confidence boost. Going into the 200 meters, you know, I don't even know if I saw my results afterwards. I think I, like, didn't see them until I actually, like, got home. But either way, it felt like a good race, you know. I still definitely had, like, a good gap between me and the first place finish. Not as much between me and, like, the rest of the field, which is interesting because the person all the way, I want to say to the right, which would be, like, the left on the screen, I think they're wearing a white shirt. They were actually in the prior race. I think they were in maybe both the 100 and the 200, but either way, I definitely raced them in the 200, and they had a much larger gap on me. Yeah, you know what? I think I raced them in the 100 as well. Either way, they beat me by so much further in the race just a week prior. So that definitely was like a huge confidence booster. I knew that first race, you know, or like I wanted to tell myself that I knew that I just ran bad, and like it wasn't like an indication of like my real performance right now, but you know, you can't really be sure of that until you run better and you get better results. So either way, let's hop into the 200 meters. I do want to mention, though, I guess I did have a couple notes from that race. I did end up running against a very, very good field. I think the person that won that heat ended up running 11.1, so extremely fast 100 meters. I was actually ahead of them for at least, look, we're going to go minimum, I was ahead of them for at least 30 meters, right? Probably more so around 40 meters, I was neck and neck, if not ahead of the person that ran 11.1 seconds. So it's not that I'm not capable of running that fast. I noticed, not in this race, but the next 100 meters I ran in just actually 2 days later. I think it actually comes down more so to the fact that I'm not in good enough shape to finish out 100 meters right now. I get through about 40 to 50 of it, and if I'm racing like slower people, then I can get through like 60 to 70 of it, and like it's no problem for me to like keep the lead. Like it's actually like it's not even like I'm trying. But then it gets to the point where I'm like, it's like I'm running in quicksand. Like I just can't do anything. It feels more so like the feeling isn't that I'm slowing down. It actually feels more so like I'm trying to like accelerate again. Like I'm running and I'm like, all right, I've got to go a little bit faster to like maintain this lead. And like I try to, but I just, it doesn't necessarily feel like I'm running slower, because I'm trying to run faster, but I watch everybody slowly pull ahead. So, but it's definitely, it's crazy that I was able to beat them off the start, and as well as for like a good like 20-30 meters. I know I'm capable of running like that. I know that I could race anybody in the world. I'm extremely fast. I have a lot of confidence in that, which also makes me a lot more competitive either way. And it's just, it was really reassuring, you know? It's a good thing to be able to run against people that are that good, and then also be able to like prove to myself that I'm still capable of doing that. All right, now let's get into the 200. thing I'm going to say at all is the next race, I believe I took a better video of me running around the curve. I set up a camera so that we could watch the beginning of the 200. So in the next video, we will have a better like overall view of the 200 meters. We only have what they posted from the meet, and this is just like a camera that's maybe like an Insta 360 or something that's like sitting at the end of the friggin' race, you know? It's like at the finish line, and it just basically, you know, sits still the entire fucking race. It's not like following like drone footage or anything that you get from like an indoor race or something. But anyway, dude, about the actual race. Let's see. I do have some notes here. This was not good. This was a really bad 200 meters on my part. I can't even lie. I did end up running faster than my last 200, which was like guaranteed either way. But let's see what I put down in the notes here. Okay, so I recall this pretty vividly, but once the gun goes off, I get off to like I've always got like a great reaction to the gun, and like my first step was great, second step not too bad, but my third step I didn't step forward. Like I distinctly remember like instead of leaning forward and like going into a drive phase, I took two steps and then I kind of stood up and slowed down, and I just like I even like in my head immediately I'm like, bro, what am I doing? Like I've got to just run as hard as possible right now because we've got one person in that race said that they're going to run like a 22. So it was either I like run sprint from the start or I'm not even going to be close in this heat. And, you know, obviously, if you watch the video, that is more so what ended up happening. Sadly, there were only two other people, though, in the heat that were, like, seriously, like, competing. You know, no offense to, like, the older men that ended up running in the race. It's just, it did suck that there weren't too many people running the 200 meters in the, like, open category. So this was, like, the only heat to run in. And it just, obviously, the two people that were actually running, they were way faster than me. So that just, like, that sucks. There, like even if I did like try to keep up, I probably would have got like hurt or something. It just really wasn't worth coming out like the first 100 meters a second or two faster than I've run all season. It wouldn't have made any sense. But I mean, I didn't even have that mindset going into it. Like I don't know why I just like completely stepped back and didn't try to run fast in that first 100, but it really did. It like slowed down my entire race. Luckily, you know, I did have two more meets coming up, so I had an opportunity to fix that. I enjoy the 200 meters. Like it's definitely like my favorite track event. Uh, it's either that or like, dude, I'd like to say the 400, but I like the 400 is so terrible that like it has to be the 200. It's just that like, and I'm definitely like pretty competitive in the 200. If you look back at like my high school results, like anywhere if I'm like running the 100 in high school and it's like a big meet, let's say there's like 100 people or like 60 people running, I'd probably be like 20 to 30 in the 100 meters like ranking. But in the 200 I'd probably be like top 10, maybe even like, you know, a little bit worse than that, but still. Like I wouldn't be 30th place in the freaking 200 because there's just not that many people with speed endurance. So I I definitely, I don't even know, man. I don't know, like comparatively, which performance would be better. I feel like a lot of people would say that a 12 like 5 in the 100 is better than like a 25 or like to 26 in the 200. But you know, it really depends who you ask. So either way, um, yeah, that was my first two races this track season. I guess like just like one last thing on that 200. I mean, let's see. I did run like the end of it pretty well. We'll play the clip here. Like I always, no matter what, if I'm running like a medium distance race, I guess, like I'm gonna finish the race fast. Like either way, I'm gonna lock in. My problem is just not like I don't come out hard enough off the gun. Like I need to just sprint off the gun, and then at like 100 to 120 meters in, if I'm like completely exhausted and I run slower at the end of the race, I need to just accept that because my time will be faster because of the time that I'm saving from the damn beginning. So anyway, one last thing. I just want to put in a little segment here for some sandbags. So, this has been a common occurrence with USA track and field and me running at these events, but there's always some type of like technical error or some type of scheduling error that goes into this. Like it all started when I first started competing again in track and field, like in like 2019. But we're just gonna keep this like a short and sweet, you know. This season, my first meet, when I arrived, I got there on time, and the meet was delayed by like an hour and a half or so, which you know, no big deal, honestly. I don't care, but it is pretty insane that and then the reason that that is like upsetting is because the meet directors will get up everybody's ass about like the timing and like be like, "Oh, you guys are taking too long to do this and that," but they were late, so it's not our bad. It's really weird that they do that. And then there seems to be a lot of like errors with the meets, like technical errors, scheduling errors, like I said. Um Before my last few meets there, I would have been a lot more negative on this subject. But after attending these meets, you know, I was seeing a lot of the same faces at all of these races. You know, the same people are going out, taking time out of their day to do these races, so I can't blame them necessarily. And a few of them I'd really disliked, but they're starting to grow on me. You know who you are. Anyway, so yeah, I disliked a few of these officials, but as much as like I know there's still corruption and everything, you know, they're humans. They're not bad people, all right? They're not inherently bad. Um so let me just say it like, you know, let's get this over with. The 200 meters, every single 200 meters I ran there was an error. The first one from the beginning of this video, the gun, like it didn't go off. Like there was something wrong with the gun. So I figured the race was going to restart, but it didn't, which is probably why I ran closer to a 28-second 200. Then this one, similar thing. There was a problem with the gun as well as the clock wasn't working at the end of the race. So when I asked them my time, they were like, actually we don't have it here. So like did they even time the race? Like what was going on with that? You could see at the end, I think the time ends up coming up, but for the first like 100 or 120 meters, it just says 0 seconds. And like I came up as I was like looking at the clock while I was running, I was like, what the hell? Like there's no time on the clock. I think also the time was just facing the opposite way, so like we couldn't see it, which is just really weird. Like it was just it threw off my mental game. And yeah, the next two meets we're gonna show in the next video, but there was also some technical errors with those, so it leads me to believe that it's not really like a coincidence. It's more so the fact that because we're not competing at the highest level, they don't really care too much. Like there was also an occurrence that they were trying to figure out which line we were supposed to start from because there were two white lines on the track, and one of the officials basically said well, this is what he said word for word. I'm going to quote him, and this is just from memory, so if I'm off like you know, a couple words here, that's just how life is. But he basically said that nobody here is going to run a world record, so it doesn't matter what line we use to start from. So basically a difference in like 2 to like 5 meters doesn't matter because nobody here is going to run a time fast enough that it will make an official record. So basically all the times don't matter because they could have been 95 meters instead of 100 meters, and you're running against somebody. Your time, your 100-meter time, could be compared against somebody who's running 95 meters with a fucking 8.0 wind that's measured at 2.0 because of some type of error. Like, I'm telling you right now, just this is why I don't care about times in track and field. It's all about the race. I Anyway, I definitely didn't run to my full potential in all of these races, and you know, hopefully in these next ones, I am able to compete and you know, get better results. But yeah, the only reason I say that is because it comes down to the race. If you perform well in your heat, that's what matters. You can't be looking at these times online and comparing yourself with what's going on YouTube. It's just not realistic. And remember, this is just my opinion. I have to mention this in a video because if I'm going to talk about all of this and discuss all of this, we can't just ignore what's actually going on, you know. Whether or not it's some type of huge conspiracy theory to control who's running fast in track and field, I don't know. But anyway, now we're really done with the video, guys. We're just gonna discuss the results and that's it. That's enough on that. Let's let's wrap this up. You know, we've got two more races that we're gonna show next video. Hopefully, I'm able to continue to improve in the 100 and the 200. You know, you'll just have to watch to find out, I guess. If you did end up watching this whole video, dude, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's gonna end up being a long one. I already know, you know, but either way, I think that's it, dude. I think that's it, man. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Alright, I'm just like throwing this in. It's gonna be like somewhere in between all that. I didn't like mention the actual results for the 200, so I guess we'll just go over that real quick. Alright, so I'm gonna put them on the screen here. I ran a 27.81. Now, what's really surprising about this is the first race I ran pretty hard off the start. I didn't run as fast as possible for the first like 100 meters, but I had a good start and I didn't really slow down. This race I slowed down significantly right off the start, and I still ended up running faster just because I was like, all right, like I only get a few of these opportunities this year. I need to make this count, and I just freaking, you know, focused on my turnover, my cadence, and I did end up running 0.18 seconds faster in this race, so like almost like a 0.2 difference. So yeah, not too bad. All right, I just wanted to throw that in there because I didn't actually end up like going over the exact time. Now the video's over.
They say they're sleeping like a soldier trapped inside of